What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix for Week 8 of the 2021 CFL season. I'm Ryan Coop here with your defense preview for this week. If you missed it, go back, check out quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receiver. I have videos previewing all of those for this week as well. And reminder, the first game of the week comes this Wednesday, so make sure you set your lineup or start setting your lineup at least before then. I'll have a depth chart update out on Wednesday for that game between Hamilton and Ottawa as well to update you on any CFL Fantasy notables from that. And then a depth chart update on Thursday for the Friday games also to help you set your lineup for those games as well. So let's get into talking about the defenses. 3 games on the schedule means 6 defenses to pick from this week. And I think it's a clear-cut 3 I like, 3 I don't in this week's games. Let's start with the ones I like. The top option has to be the Ticats. $3,925 to get the full value to help you put up a 100-point week. I value that as 2.5 points per $1,000. So you need about 9.8 from the Ticats, and they've really picked up their game in the past few weeks. In their last 3 games, 14, 5, and 14 in their past 3. And they had 7 before that against Montreal. And I mean, the matchup with Ottawa has to just be the best part of this. Ottawa's given up an average of 11.6 points to defenses so far this year, which is the top amount out of any team in the CFL. We saw Dom Davis in his last game throw a couple picks. We've seen sacks get through. Ever since the Ticats defense has gotten all their pieces back healthy, they've been rolling along pretty well. So I really like this matchup with Ottawa for Hamilton, and that's probably the top defense I am looking at this week. The other ones I like are Montreal at 38.06 and BC at 36.62. Montreal's averaged 7 points a game so far through 5 games. They need 9.5 for full value. And they face an Argos team that has given up 9.8 on average, which would hit the value for you. Montreal did have a down game last week defensively against BC, but they've put up, 6 points is their floor. Other than that, 6 points against Hamilton, 6 against Calgary, 8 against Edmonton, and 13 against Ottawa so far this year. So they've been making some plays outside of last game, and I think Toronto's been kind of sloppy at times with the ball. We've seen fumbles, we've seen ill-advised passes from Nick Arbuckle, we've seen big turnovers. So I think there's potential there for an Alouettes defense that can get those sacks, can force some of those turnovers to hit you your value this week against the Argos. So I do like the Alouettes. I also like BC because I think they're one of the best defenses in the league. They shut teams down really well, and outside of Winnipeg, I believe they have the highest average points per game out of any team in the league, which is more than their 2.5 point per $1,000 value. So they faced the Riders, who have been kind of up and down. Their offensive line has done very good in some games, and then there's been some games where they didn't. So it's hard. It's a little bit hard to green light BC for that reason, but I just really like the Lions' defense, and I think there's been a few games in recent weeks where it showed that maybe the Riders' offensive line isn't as solid as it started the year with, and maybe they could get to Cody Fajardo and force him to make some of those throws and pick off some of them there. So I like the Lions defense still this week. They have been one of the better ones, but they do have a tougher matchup. So I would go Hamilton, Montreal, and then BC probably as my top 3 picks in that order. The ones I'm staying away from and putting it as a red light, the Riders' defense is averaging 9.2, which is not bad, but they are expensive at $5,708. Last week they put up a big 11 against the Argos. They had 11, 18, and 12 in their first 3 games, and then they hit Winnipeg and had 3-0 in those 2 games. And they're facing a BC team that has been much better on the offensive line. this year. Michael Riley has wreaked havoc on defenses so far this year. He hasn't thrown a ton of turnovers. So if the Riders were a cheaper price, maybe like BC is, I would consider them. But at 57.08, I think it's going to be tough for them against BC to put up 14.3. So I say stay away, spend less money at defense, and pick up one of those other options. Then the two I'm staying away from, first of all, it's Ottawa. In their last 4 games, ever since that Week 1 19-point explosive day against Edmonton, they have put up 0, 2, 0, and 0. So just 2 points in their last 4 games. Do not take Ottawa's defense this week in hopes that they're going to break out. I think there's other options available to you. You might want to try to pick them against that Ticats offensive line. Just don't do it. And if you do actually decide to, go with Ottawa and it works out for you, kudos on the risky pick, but it's one I cannot recommend after 4 straight weeks of disappointment. And then the Argos, I'm also staying away from them. They haven't really had a big breakout game this year. Their highest point total out of any game was 7 points, which they put up twice. They're averaging 4.5, and they face Montreal, who outside of Winnipeg has allowed the least points to defenses this year, which is kind of interesting because we always talk about, Montreal's offense is struggling. They are not very efficient right now. Vernon Adams is off his game. There's a disconnect there. But while there's incompletions and they're not necessarily putting up yardage, etc., they're also not turning the ball over. And that offensive line is keeping them upright. They're not giving up sacks. Montreal's not giving up a ton of points to defenses this year, and I don't see that changing this week against the Argos. So I stay away from Toronto there as well. So those are your options on defense for this week. Like Hamilton, Montreal, BC. Don't like Saskatchewan, Ottawa, and Toronto. So take whatever value you can out of those and get kind of a cheaper option at defense and look to spend more money elsewhere. That does it for your positional previews for Week 8. Again, stay tuned for the depth chart update out tomorrow for that first game, and make sure you set your lineups before kickoff of Ottawa and Hamilton, which comes, I believe, 7:30 Eastern Time on Wednesday. Go back, check out all the other positional previews as well. And as always, do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you liked, what you didn't. If you have any fantasy questions, put them in the comments section or tweet them at me at CooperTrooper42. That starts with a K. The link to it's in the description. And if you want to play CFL Fantasy alongside myself and other viewers, you can go to the link in the description I have for that as well. I have a group, the Canadian Football Fantasy Fix, over on the official CFL Fantasy site. So you can play alongside myself and other viewers this week and every week throughout the season. Stay tuned for the depth chart update tomorrow. Get those lineups set. And in the meantime, thanks as always for watching. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.